Okay, think about this for a second. The last time someone, maybe a friend or coworker, just completely unloaded all their problems, all their complaints on you, how did that feel?
Uplifting, energizing.
Yeah, I'm guessing probably not. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Generally, nobody really enjoys being around a complainer.
Unless, maybe, they're complainers themselves. That can happen.
Right. And look, we all vent sometimes, that's human. But the real question isn't if we complain, it's more about how often. And maybe more importantly, what kind of complaining are we talking about?
Exactly. And, if you're ever wondering, am I complaining too much?
Yeah.
Your friends, your colleagues, they'll likely give you some cues. Maybe subtle, maybe not
Yeah.
so subtle.
Huh. Yeah, probably true. So today we're doing a deep dive into this whole habit, this curious and often really counterproductive habit of complaining.
Hmm.
We've looked at some really insightful sources, and they help make this clear distinction between, constructive problem solving, which is good, and the kind of complaining that just drains the energy out of the room.
Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack why some complaints are just flat out counterproductive. We want to explore what happens, kind of the hidden costs, when we lean into that habit too much.
And then pivot to the positive.
Exactly. And discover some powerful ways, hopefully, to genuinely shift our perspective for the better.
Yeah, and let's be super clear right from the get-go. When we use the word complaining in this deep dive,
Yeah.
we are absolutely not talking about discussing actual problems to find solutions.
No, definitely not.
That kind of talk is constructive. It's commendable, even.
Totally agree. And similarly, we're not talking about just sharing your life experiences, the ups and the downs, the disappointments with your friends or family to keep them in the loop.
That's just connection.
It is. Part of being human is sharing our journey, supporting each other. That's vital.
Absolutely.
What we're really zooming in on here is that repetitive kind, the sort of aimless complaining that just kind of festers.
It doesn't move towards anything.
Right. It doesn't lead anywhere productive. It just sort of sits there.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dig into some of these types. These counterproductive complaints our sources highlight.
Okay. One of the most common ones, and honestly, sometimes one of the most draining to be around, is what we're calling the aches and pains trap.
Oh, yeah. We've all heard it.
You know the comments, oh, my back is killing me, or, oh, I have this terrible sinus headache.
And sometimes it gets,
Mhm.
well, a bit much. People offering really graphic details about whatever's ailing them.
Right. And you're standing there
What
thinking,
am I supposed to do with that? If you have a stomach ache, what can I possibly do? I'm not a doctor.
exactly. And the interesting thing, or maybe the unfortunate thing, is while the person complaining might be looking for sympathy,
Which is understandable.
sure, but what often happens instead is you inadvertently drag other people down. And maybe more importantly, you end up reinforcing your own suffering.
Yeah, that's a key point. Talking about the pain keeps it front and center in your mind.
And it often makes the people listening start, subtly looking for the exits, a polite way to disengage.
Hmm. And building on that, something really intriguing, especially with illness complaints, is this thing called the principle of escalation.
Ah, yes, this is where it gets really interesting. Our sources talk about this dynamic where, almost without realizing it, people start trying to one-up each other's negative stuff.
It turns into a kind of competition.
It does. Like, you might mention you had a rough flu.
And before you're even done.
Exactly. They jump in with, oh, you think you had it bad. Let me tell you, when I had the flu, I had a 104 fever.
Yeah.
Rushed to the hospital. Almost died.
Right. It becomes this unspoken contest to prove whose pain is worse, whose misfortune is greater. It's kind of a weird social reflex.
It really is a subconscious bid for validation, maybe, but it often just backfires.
Yeah. And it's not just aches and pains, another classic target for complaints. The weather.
Oh, constantly. You hear it all the time. Ugh, what a lousy, miserable day the second a drop of rain falls.
Happens automatically for some people.
But it makes you stop and think, like, why? Why does a little water from the sky instantly equal a lousy day?
Well, what the sources suggest is that when you make that connection, rain equals lousy day or whatever weather it is, you're basically programming yourself.
Programming yourself to react negatively.
Exactly. To something totally outside your control. And if you think bigger picture, complaining about the weather, it won't change the weather.
Obviously not.
And it just uses up valuable mental and emotional energy on something that really has no significant long-term impact on your life.
It's just, well, it's kind of pointless, isn't it? A waste of your internal resources.
Completely. And then, moving beyond things you can't control, like weather or genuine illness, there are what our sources call The petty gripes.
Ah, the small stuff.
Yeah. Complaints about things that seem really insignificant in the grand scheme, like the waiter didn't come over for 5 minutes, or John got an office with a slightly bigger window than mine.
Oh, boy. Yeah. When you step back, life throws so many genuinely big challenges at us
Way too many.
that getting bogged down in stuff like that seems, well, silly.
It does.
Hmm.
And from, say, an employer's perspective, or even a teammate's, if you're complaining constantly about tiny things,
It makes you wonder.
yeah, it makes you wonder, okay, how are you going to react when we face a real problem, something actually worth worrying about?
It signals maybe a lack of perspective.
Precisely. Which is the perfect segue. Actually, we need to talk about the transformative power of perspective.
Yes. And there's this incredibly powerful story from one source that really hammers this home. The author talks about being in their office one day, kind of quietly grumbling to themselves about typical business stuff.
We've all been there.
Oh, yeah. Results not happening fast enough, the usual entrepreneurial frustrations. And then this young man named Pedro walks in.
Okay.
Pedro, he was in his early 20s, came from Honduras about 6 years earlier, and he worked for a company that cleaned homes and offices. And the author describes him as just one of the most positive people ever. Always smiling, always upbeat.
Just naturally positive.
Seemingly, yeah. But on this particular day, the author, knowing Pedro was from Honduras, asked him about Hurricane Mitch, which had recently just devastated the country.
Oh, wow.
And Pedro's usual smile just vanished. He started talking about the sheer scale of it. Thousands dead, over 1 million people homeless in his country.
Unimaginable.
And then came the really heart-wrenching part. His father, his mother, his brother, they were all still in Honduras, and Pedro had absolutely no idea if they were dead or alive. No way to contact them. All the phone lines in their area were completely destroyed. Can you even begin to grasp the agony of that? Not knowing if your whole family is gone?
It's hard to comprehend. Just awful. Okay, so let's unpack what happened next. Pedro's reaction.
Right. So instead of just, collapsing under the weight of this or griping about this unimaginable crisis.
Which anyone would understand.
Absolutely. But Pedro, he was channeling everything, all his energy into action.
What was he doing?
He was working tirelessly, collecting money, collecting clothes, necessities, actively working with relief organizations. His entire focus was on doing whatever he possibly could to ease the pain, not just his own, but for his people back home.
Wow. Action instead of complaint.
Completely. And after that conversation, the author of the source said they just felt this profound shift inside instantly.
I can imagine.
They realized just how utterly, completely inconsequential their own business problems were, the things they'd been grumbling about just minutes before.
Puts things in perspective fast.
Immediately, and how incredibly, profoundly fortunate they actually were. And that realization, it made them stop complaining right then and there. They said they faced the rest of the day with totally renewed energy and a dramatically better attitude.
That's powerful. What happened with Pedro's family?
Weeks later, the author saw Pedro again. And despite everything, he still had that usual winning smile, that great attitude. The good news, his family had been found alive.
Oh, thank goodness.
But the difficult reality was they had lost everything, absolutely everything in the flood. They were living in a shelter, clean water was incredibly scarce, disease was rampant.
So they were alive, but facing immense hardship.
Immense, starting over from literally nothing in dire conditions. And yet the author noted, Pedro never whined. He never complained. He just understood, maybe instinctively, that complaining would be a terrible waste of his precious time and energy.
What an incredible lesson. Humbling, really.
Truly. And it brings us right back to that core idea. Complainers often lack perspective.
Yeah, they tend to blow their own problems way out of proportion. Perspective, as our sources define it, is the capacity to view things in their true relation or relative importance.
Seeing the whole picture, the bigger picture.
Exactly. And we've all seen it, haven't we? People losing perspective.
Oh, definitely. Friends who get completely bent out of shape over a flat tire, acting like it's the end of the world.
Or, families severing ties over something as trivial as seating arrangements at a wedding.
Right. It's startling sometimes how clear it is in those moments that people have lost sight of the true relative importance of things.
It really makes you think. And it brings to mind that incredible wisdom from Eddie Rickenbacker.
The World War I ace, right?
Yeah.
Who survived being lost at sea.
That's the one. After surviving 21 days adrift in a life raft in the Pacific, totally lost, he famously said. If you have all the fresh water you want to drink and all the food you want to eat, you ought never complain about anything.
Wow. That just cuts right through it, doesn't it? Puts things in brutally clear light.
It really does. A powerful recalibration of what truly matters.
So, okay, that's the perspective piece. How do we actively make that shift
Yeah.
from complaining to, well, gratitude and action?
One great exercise comes from one of our sources. The author shared their personal list of blessings, and it's a fantastic thing for anyone listening to try right now.
Like what kind of things?
Things like, good health for yourself, for your loved ones, owning your own home, or just having a safe place to live, having plenty of food, clean water to drink.
Basic, but huge.
Huge. Living in a country like the U.S., enjoying freedom, genuinely loving your work if you're fortunate enough to do that, getting to travel, meet interesting people, having loyal friends, maybe drawing strength from a relationship with God or something bigger than yourself.
It's a great list. And it's so easy, isn't it, to take those things for granted?
Incredibly easy, even when your life is objectively full of wonderful things. But the key, the practice, is to consciously and quickly reconnect with those blessings when you feel yourself slipping into complaint mode.
Like actively reminding yourself.
Exactly. It genuinely boosts your attitude, brings your perspective right back where it needs to be. So maybe ask yourself right now, you listening, what is it that you've been complaining about lately?
And be honest, are they really life and death matters in the grand scheme?
Probably not, for most of us, most of the time.
So here's a concrete action. The next time you feel that urge, that temptation to gripe about your problems, try this instead. Pick up a pen, grab a piece of paper, and just start listing all the reasons you have to be grateful.
It's powerful. It's active. It rewires your thinking in that moment.
And it definitely beats just spinning in that self-reinforcing cycle of complaining.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't about pretending problems don't exist.
No, not at all. It's about wisely redirecting your energy.
So for example, if you're feeling tired all the time, instead of telling everyone who'll listen how lousy you feel,
Focus that energy elsewhere.
right, make an effort to exercise a bit more regularly maybe, or just try to get to bed a little earlier.
Yeah.
It's about shifting your attention and your energy towards the concrete steps you can actually take.
Towards solutions, or at least improvements.
That's where the real power lies, in action.
Okay, so let's recap the main points here. Complaining, especially the unproductive kind we've been talking about, really works against you in at least 3 big ways.
First, quite frankly, nobody really wants to hear constant negativity about your illnesses, your problems. It's just not appealing.
It's true. Second,
And maybe this is even more critical for you, complaining actively reinforces your own pain and discomfort. You keep replaying it, keep feeling it.
you make it bigger in your own mind. And
Third, complaining by itself. It achieves absolutely nothing. Zero. It's just an energy drain. It diverts you from the constructive actions you could be taking to actually make things better.
yeah, that makes total sense.
And, one of our sources shared this slightly provocative saying, maybe a bit cynical, but maybe some truth in it.
Let's hear it.
It's been said that 90% of the people don't care about your problems,
Okay.
and the other 10% are glad you have them.
Ouch. Okay, yeah, that's provocative, maybe an exaggeration, but it does kind of highlight that your complaints might not be landing the way you think they are.
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It really is.
Right.
But seriously, the takeaway here is pretty clear. All of us probably have some room to cut down on our complaining.
Most likely.
So maybe from now on, let's try to do ourselves, and honestly everyone around us, a favor. Let's try to make our conversations more uplifting.
Yeah, think about the people you genuinely enjoy being around.
Right. There's a real joy, isn't there, in being around people who don't complain much, people who tend to speak positively.
Definitely. Decide you want to be one of those people. You'll probably find people are drawn to you instead of,
Looking for the exits.
Exactly.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. Thinking back to Pedro, given how much he overcame, enduring that unimaginable loss, yet keeping that positive outlook, relentlessly focusing on action.
Such a powerful example.
It really is. So the question for you is, what unexpected opportunities, maybe for action, maybe for appreciation, might your biggest challenges actually be hiding right now? If only you stopped complaining long enough to shift your perspective and look for them.